right. It is Friday of week 3 in our semester, and I'm going to give you a overview of week 4 and 5. And just FYI, hopefully you're looking at this before, but if you're not, you've probably already figured it out, is that I shift due dates for the normal Monday night replies that are required. Or really anything that's due on Monday, which is normally those things for this class, into the next day. But I will say, I talked to one of the students in this class, and even though I'd covered it a couple times, I felt like it was clear. It was still like, why did you mark me late? Because I did my main post and my replies. And I thought, well, I thought I was clear that you needed to do your main post here. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, why am I doing that? Yes, it's for students that work ahead, but I noticed you as a group don't as much. So I was thinking, here's what I think I'm open to a change for is that as long as I see that you have main post by some like the Sunday before they're due somewhere, because if you're only doing those posts and those main replies, it's just a pain. So I'll give you a little more time so that if you're focused on the lecture for that night, just focus on the lecture. Because starting this week, we're going to do, or actually in week 5, we're going to do something a little different. So, all right, so let me just show you what I've already covered a little bit about what we're going to do in week 4, ending the next lynda.com or this web technologies, talking about the dark web. This is such an interesting topic to me, and really it's actually kind of, I generally have it like this. Doesn't matter the sequence you do them, but also the hands-on for Chrome DevTools, because I'm teaching JavaScript right now. I really see how important this is, and students are coming into the class now who have not been through this course or been through the next course, which is 85, and so having some Chrome DevTools experience on hand will be really helpful no matter where you go in any kind of programming environment, because most likely you'll be touching the kind of code that we're looking at today or right now. So I'm just going to open let's just open doesn't matter which one you're looking at here. I'm just going to open the lynda.com page, and true for any page, if you hit inspect, you can go down and you start to see what first will look overwhelming because there's so much information here, and learning how to navigate, right? So if I wanted to look at this website in terms of a mobile device, if I was working on it and I wanted to see, oh yeah, look at that, and notice how it's a touch target right now, right? So it is trying to give you that what the mobile experience is. As a developer, mobile first is definitely something we talk about a lot, developing for that environment. So that's one nice thing it does here for us, and a lot of other things that you'll come to love, I guarantee you, as you learn more about the HTML. And this is the DOM, the rendered DOM, and this is your CSS that you write. So your HTML and your CSS, which you're learning. So really the reason, let me complete where I'm at because I don't want to move ahead too quickly. So for this, what I want you to do is go search for Chrome DevTools tutorials, because there are some really good ones out there. Try to find some that match your level of experience, because everyone in here has a different level of experience, and what I really want you to do is, based on your level of experience, learn something new. Okay, so go do some research, give us some links to that stuff, and have a discussion about this, right? So 150 words. So I've talked about my new little extension, not extension, just a little change on the due dates. But anyway, have fun. Great tool. So this really leads into also the discussion about where we're heading in terms of week 5, because on the hands-on part of week 5, I'm going to actually recommend here, actually require you to choose an editor that you're going to use for HTML. And in this course at the beginning, James Williamson talks about this, and there's so many great editors out there, right? So editor is really what you use to edit HTML, and your authoring tools are so helpful. So what I'm going to show you here, and this is going to be your hands-on, so I'm kind of giving you just a hands-on for this exercise in this week to get you leveled up into doing this. Okay, so for this particular course on lynda.com, which is sorry, my bad. Let's go look at here. It's right here. the HTML Essential Training. He gives you exercise files and you can download those if you want, which is totally great to have those. And I did that just to play around with them. But what I'm going to have you do, and it's good to have this because you can look at your code versus theirs, right? But you need to code along, right? So the idea starting in this week's lectures is that you're going to code along with the lectures. You're not going to have to take notes. You're just going to code along. And if there's, that's what you're going to do. So let me show you how I want you to do it. In your Google Drive, I want you to create a code along directory, okay? And then in there, follow the structure that they created in the other one regarding chapters, right? So, but you'll go ahead and in here, I've already created under the shared with Rio Waller, right? So the one only you and I have access to. I created a code along directory. And then in here, and I won't do all of them, but you'll create new folders, right? Like called, I think it's chapter 1. We can go look right now in a minute about what that looks like when you download the exercise files. But again, and the idea is that you code along with them. So that's great. I'll show you how to use this. You have to use an editor, right? So you need to choose, and there are so many great editors out there. This is where I'm going to say go choose one, and I'm going to show you Sublime Text. Although I will tell you right now, when I'm teaching JavaScript, I'm using WebStorm because I really have fallen in love with the IDE. It's a bigger environment, it's more you can do, and I have only begun to touch the surface of this program, and you can get it free as a student. There's a license for that, but it's Sublime Text is really popular, and Atom is really popular, and Brackets is really popular. So Atom is another editor out there that's really popular. There are a ton of them. So do a little research. There's some great articles. I'll try to find some links and provide them before you get down here. So I've already installed it. Here it is, Sublime Text. So here's how you're going to use the Google Drive in combination with your editor, which is why I'm giving you the hands-on this week to level up and get this done. So once you're in whatever editor, you have the ability to open. Okay, so now that I'm in Sublime Text, I can just do File, Open, and then under my File Open directory view, right, I can then navigate to my Google Drive. Okay, so from my Sublime Text or whatever you choose, you'll have the option to open files and folders. Okay, now I noticed I had to spend just a few minutes when I was playing around with this trying to figure out the best way to find my Google Drive within my particular setup, so that may take you a little bit, so just be aware. So now I'm going to navigate to my shared with Rio code along chapter 1. Right now you can also create folders and files in here. Okay, and then actually what did I do? Actually I only had to do one of those, my code, right? And oh yeah, that's right, because it's a chapter idea, right? So that's good. Actually I can show you that. It's always good to make a mistake and to show you how to recover from it because it happens to everyone. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do File, Open, and this time I'm actually going to choose chapter 1. I'm going to just say open that, and so that opens that directory. And so now what I can do is I can do new file, and it calls it untitled. But what I will do is I'll just do file, and this is good, save as. Now I'll have to go look in a minute what they name their files, but in general it's good to always have an index.html file. Good, and then you have your file up there. So I'm going to flip over. So first that's what you'd want to do, and then you will code along, right? So he will show you how to do doc tags. He will show all kinds of ways to write code. So you're going to be writing your HTML code in here, right? And then what you can also do is once you're there, you can actually preview it. So you can actually do view and view it in a browser. Which is really awesome, so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so that's really the intent of this hands-on experience. But what I also want to do is just flip over for a second inside of my Finder, and I can show it to you. Actually, let's do it let me show it to you in the browser. So in my code along chapter 1 directory, I now should have an index.html. So There are editors that work with Google Drive. You're welcome to try to play with that as well. But this is really what you'll end up giving me your code along link. Right? Because remember, if you've shared with me, you're good. So you just code along, and as he goes over the code, so for each one. And so what I meant by that, when I was showing the directory in my downloads when I downloaded it, so when he went through chapter 1, like this first, look what he did. He created a subdirectory, finished files. And you don't have to emulate this, because you can just write the file that you're creating. And he's called it syntax.html, and there must have been a reason. Typically your first file in a new site is called index. Let's see what he does in here in chapter 2. Oh, my thing's flipping back and forth way too quick. So he creates another one called structure. So that's good. Doc type, so he's taking you through it, right? So what you can do is just follow along. You can either follow this directory structure, which I actually, you could do it either way. I think it keeps it easier just to have one directory like this. Like I'll get rid of this one. I'm actually going to remove this one and just do chapter 1 and then chapter 2, because that's the way he's done it. And like I said, you don't have to do all those subdirectories, because that gets a little confusing, but you can just code here, and that's the way you'll submit it. Okay, so it's good. This is actually a really good place to be moving into in our class. So hopefully you enjoy that. All right, so I think that's most of what I wanted to cover. We will also look at some hosting. How do what are some hosting options out there? We can't do this in week 6. I don't have it published. I used to be able to use Google Drive for hosting, which was awesome, but they've recently disconnected it. So we're going to use something else when we get into week 6. I'll have to give that some thought. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful break, and I hope the changes I've made make this a little easier. This class really is very low enrollment, so there's only a few of us here. There's like, I think 12. No, there's like 14, which is fine. Hopefully, knowing that, you feel a little more willing to share sometimes, and obviously, I say that just to give you a level of comfort more than anything. I know this example of doing mapping your network that some of you did last night might have been a little weird, right? But think about, there's only a few of us in here, and even if there was 100 of us in here, it's really about knowing how to protect your information anyway, so that's a good thing. All right, so I will have another video next week, probably talking about seeing how, just coding along and seeing how that goes for you, and seeing any feedback I have before I start talking about week 6. All right, have a great time. Talk to you later.